The crystal spires of Lumina Prime shattered like ice sculptures in summer heat. Ambassador Vorai watched in horror from the orbital observation deck as the planet's own defense grid turned against it. Particle beams, meant to protect, sliced through floating cities. Shields designed to save lives trapped millions in their final moments. A civilization built over 10,000 years collapsed in mere hours. Her translucent skin flickered in waves of distress, blues and violets darkening to near black as emotions overwhelmed her natural luminescence control. 6 billion souls. An entire council member race. Gone. Ambassador. The voice came from behind her. The emergency session begins in 10 minutes. Vorai didn't turn. Her four-fingered hand pressed against the viewport, as if she could somehow reach through the reinforced transparasteel and touch her dying homeworld. The Ravagers have adapted again, she whispered. They infected the defense matrix through quantum entanglement. We thought the protocols were impenetrable. 10 minutes, Ambassador, the aide repeated, more gently this time. They need you. Vorai finally turned, her skin settling into a muted blue, the formal color of Lumina diplomacy, masking her grief. They need solutions. I have none. You have your voice, the aide said, mandibles clicking in their species equivalent of a respectful bow. The council listens when you speak. The Grand Council chamber hummed with urgent murmurs as representatives from 32 spacefaring civilizations gathered beneath the vast celestial map. Holographic stars twinkled peacefully overhead until a silent command turned 24 of them blood red. Lost worlds, conquered systems. The Ravager swarm's path of consumption. Council leader Mavre stood at the central podium, his crystalline exoskeleton catching light in faceted rainbows. The chamber fell silent. We face extinction, Mavre began without preamble. The Lumina Prime catastrophe confirms our worst fears. The Ravagers have evolved beyond our defensive capabilities. Vorai took her place in the Lumina delegation's nearly empty section. Most of her colleagues had been recalled when the attack began. Many were now dead. Our scientists project total collapse of council space within 18 standard months. Mavre continued. The Ravagers consume resources faster than we can evacuate. They adapt to every countermeasure. They learn from every engagement. Delegate after delegate rose to speak. Some proposed new defensive alignments. Others suggested abandoning outer systems to fortify core worlds. A few despaired openly, questioning whether anything could stop the metallic plague devouring their civilizations. Vorai listened, her inner light pulsing with each desperate proposal. The council races, Lumina, Deepkin, Crystallids, Mentari, and dozens more, had evolved in peaceful systems. Their homeworlds nurtured life gently, their ethics centered on harmony, their technologies on creation rather than destruction. For 10,000 years, this had been their strength. Now it was their fatal weakness. When her turn came, Vorai rose slowly. The chamber's attention focused on her, the representative of the newest victims. We have exhausted conventional options, she began, her voice steady despite her fluctuating bioluminescence. Our scientists cannot outthink the Ravager adaptations. Our evacuation fleets cannot outrun their expansion. Our defense systems cannot withstand their subversion. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Therefore, Vorai continued, I propose we seek help from those who understand true conflict, those whose evolution demanded constant struggle, those whose very survival required mastery of war. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Council Leader Mavre's crystalline form stiffened visibly. You speak of Earth, he said, voice hardening. The quarantined system. I do. Voray's skin flashed defiant gold. The humans? Absolutely not. The Mentari delegate's tendrils writhed in agitation. Their planet is classified as a death world for good reason. Their history is nothing but warfare. Their literature glorifies violence. Their entertainment simulates killing. They are barbarians. They are survivors, Voray countered. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them at every turn. Their gravity would crush most of us. Their atmospheric pressure would rupture our bodies. Their pathogens would devour us from within. They're predators. We are well aware of Earth's horrors, Mavre interrupted, which is precisely why contact has been forbidden. Their psychologies are fundamentally incompatible with Council civilization. Voray's skin pulsed crimson, a breach of diplomatic protocol that signaled extreme emotion. And yet they developed spaceflight despite these challenges. They reached their orbital moon with chemical rockets and slide rules. Imagine what they might achieve with our technology. Or imagine what horrors they might unleash, countered the crystallid representative. We know they developed atomic weapons before achieving planetary unity. They nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. Yet they didn't, Voray said quietly. They survived. They adapted. They overcame their own nature. Her color shifted to a serene blue. While we face a threat that exploits our gentle nature. The debate raged for hours. Delegates shouted, pleaded, threatened to leave the council altogether. Voray stood firm, her conviction strengthened by the red dots multiplying on the stellar map above. Another system lost, then another. Finally, Mavre called for a vote. Those in favor of establishing contact with Earth? One by one, lights flickered on the voting console. More than Voray expected, but not enough. Until Mavre himself, after a long moment of visible internal struggle, added his vote. Motion carried, he announced grimly. May we not regret this day. Within hours, the Council's most powerful transmission array aimed toward Sol System. The message was simple, an explanation of the Ravager threat, a plea for assistance, and an offer of technological exchange. 3 days passed without response. Voray spent the time reviewing Earth's intercepted broadcasts, thousands of languages, endless conflict, stories of war spanning their entire recorded history, music celebrating battle prowess, games simulating combat, and yet, also tales of sacrifice, of honor, of protecting the weak. Perhaps there was hope. On the 4th day, a response arrived. Brief, terse, utterly human. Help's on the way. Stand by for arrival coordinates. Admiral Ashok commanding. The council erupted in frantic preparation. Diplomats argued over proper reception protocols. Security forces debated containment measures. Scientists worried about biological contamination. Voray found herself appointed as official liaison, a position no one else wanted. The face of the council to these Deathworlders. They're sending 12 individuals, reported Dr. Nara, the Deepkin scientist assigned to monitor the human approach. Her tentacle fingers manipulated holographic displays showing a compact vessel rapidly traversing the hyperlane network. 12, against a threat that has destroyed civilizations. Perhaps they're an advance party, Voray suggested, or specialists of some kind. Their vessel's design is concerning, Dr. Nara continued, displaying a schematic. Those aren't diplomatic configurations. That's a warship. We asked for help against the Ravagers, Voray reminded her, not cultural ambassadors. Yes, but Dr. Nara's skin flushed anxious purple. Look at the power readings, the weapon systems, the armor plating. It's built to withstand forces that would vaporize our ships. As we said, They come from a death world. Vorai studied the approaching vessel with growing apprehension. They built accordingly. The reception ceremony was elaborate by council standards, though likely austere by human measure. The grand docking bay had been transformed with light sculptures and harmonic resonators. Delegates from all 32 civilizations lined the arrival path in their ceremonial attire. The human ship shattered all expectations. Instead of using the designated approach vector, it executed a series of evasive maneuvers that triggered every defense alarm in the station. Instead of docking gently, it locked onto the bay with metallic clamps that screeched against the pristine structure. Instead of following atmospheric equalization protocols, it blasted its own airlock open with a percussive boom that sent several delegates into defensive postures. And then the humans emerged. They were smaller than expected, most only slightly taller than Vorai herself. But they moved with an unsettling density, their steps heavy against the deck plating. Their environmental suits were not the ceremonial attire the council had anticipated, but rather functional armor with visible weapon mounts and utility pouches. The leader stepped forward, removing a helmet to reveal dark skin, close cropped hair, and eyes that scanned the chamber with unsettling efficiency. Admiral Vihan Ashok, Earth Defense Force, he announced, voice carrying across the suddenly silent bay. Where's your command center? Vorai stepped forward, her skin cycling through diplomatic blue patterns. Admiral, welcome to Council Space. I am Ambassador Vorai of the Lumina. We have prepared a formal reception to appreciate the welcome, Ambassador, but we're on a clock. Ashok gestured to his team, who were already deploying equipment and scanning the docking bay with handheld devices. Your Ravagers are consuming a star system every 26 hours. Formalities can wait. The council leader expected us to sit through ceremonies while worlds burn. Ashok's expression remained neutral, but his tone carried an edge that made Vorai's skin flash involuntary patterns of alarm. Take me to whoever can authorize immediate military action, or we'll find them ourselves. Council Leader Mavre was not pleased. The crystalline planes of his face fractured into patterns of extreme displeasure as Vorai led the humans directly to the strategic chamber, bypassing 3 separate welcome rituals. This is unprecedented, he hissed to Vorai. They breach all protocol. They breach it with purpose, she whispered back. Look at them. The humans had immediately spread out upon entering the chamber. Several examined the holographic stellar map with intense focus. Others deployed devices that expanded into workstations. 2 positioned themselves near the exits, hands resting casually near what were unmistakably weapons. Admiral Ashok, Mavre began stiffly, while we appreciate Earth's swift response. Your defenses are compromised, Ashok interrupted, studying the stellar map. Every fortified position you've established is visible from standard approach vectors. Your communication protocols leave quantum backdoors. Your evacuation patterns are predictable. Stunned silence fell over the council representatives. How dare, began one delegate. He's right, said Captain Lee, a compact human female who had been analyzing defensive schematics. Your entire strategic doctrine assumes an enemy that fights fair. Her eyes met Vorai's. The Ravagers don't, and neither do we. We have 10,000 years of peace, Mavra began, and about 18 months left if we don't act. Ashok cut in. We've analyzed your data transmission. The Ravagers are a von Neumann swarm, self-replicating machines designed to harvest stellar material. They're not malevolent. They're programmed, and they can be beaten. How? Vorai asked, her skin pulsing with cautious hope. Ashok nodded to another human, who projected a series of tactical simulations above the center of the chamber. Strike the manufacturing nexus, he said simply. Every swarm needs a queen. For 3 standard days, the council chamber became a war room. The humans worked with minimal rest, consuming stimulants from their suits' dispensers. They absorbed centuries of council astronomical data, military protocols, and Ravager encounter logs. Vore watched them with growing fascination. They argued constantly among themselves, a behavior shocking to council sensibilities, yet these disagreements seemed to strengthen rather than weaken their planning. They proposed ideas, tore them apart, rebuilt them better. They spoke of death, their own and others, with a casualness that chilled her. "You'll accompany the strike team," a shock informed her on the 4th day. "We need someone who understands council ships and protocols." "I'm a diplomat, not a soldier," Vore protested. "None of you are soldiers," said Captain Lee, not unkindly. "That's the problem. But you're adaptable. Ambassador, your skin gives away your thoughts, but you control it better than the others. You ask tactical questions. You don't flinch when we discuss casualties." Vore's skin rippled with surprise before settling into contemplative patterns. "You've been evaluating me." "Everyone, constantly," Lee confirmed with a small smile. "Survival habit." The reconnaissance mission departed the following day. A council stealth vessel, enhanced with human sensor technology, carrying Vore, Captain Lee, and 3 other humans. Their destination, the edge of Ravager-controlled space. "They're consuming the Helios cluster," Vore explained as their ship emerged from hyperspace at a safe distance. 6 inhabited systems, billions of lives. Lee studied the tactical display. "And the Ravager's resource processing facilities?" "Spread throughout the cluster," Vore said. "They harvest stellar material, process it into more of themselves, and move on." "No," said one of the other humans, a weather-beaten man introduced as Specialist Kozlov. "Too inefficient. Watch." He manipulated the sensor controls, focusing on energy patterns rather than visible structures. A network appeared, tendrils of Ravager activity converging toward the cluster's center. "There," Kozlov said, pointing to a red giant star nearly obscured by Ravager constructs. "That's not just another processing site. That's their nexus." "How can you be certain?" Vore asked. "Energy flow patterns," Lee explained. "Everything feeds toward that location. They're using the star itself as their primary energy source, probably tapping it directly. Stellar harvesting." "Impossible," Vore said. "Even our most advanced civilizations haven't mastered direct stellar energy extraction." Lee's expression hardened. "We mastered splitting atoms before we cured cancer. Ambassador, necessity drives innovation in different directions." The evidence proved irrefutable. Careful sensor sweeps revealed the Ravagers had constructed a vast stellar tap, drawing material directly from the red giant to fuel their endless replication. The Nexus served as both factory and command node. "Destroy this," Lee explained during the return journey. "And the swarm fragments. Without centralized direction, individual units will continue functioning, but lose coordinated adaptation capability." "The Council will never approve a direct assault," Vore warned. "The casualties would be overwhelming." "We're not asking permission," Lee said simply. "We're proposing a plan. Your Council can either help or stay out of the way." The presentation to the full Council was met with expected horror. Unacceptable. Mavre's crystalline form refracted light in patterns of extreme agitation. "You propose sacrificing thousands of ships as a diversion, deliberately destroying a stellar body? The ecological consequences alone are preferable to extinction," Ashok replied calmly. "The diversion force will draw Ravager defenders away from the Nexus. Our strike team infiltrates, overloads the stellar tap, and escapes before detonation. And if this fails, demanded the Mentari delegate. Then we try something else, said Lee. Until we win or die. That's how humans operate. The debate raged for hours. Many delegates refused to sanction what they called barbaric tactics. Others recognized the desperate logic. Throughout, the humans stood impassively, as if the council's approval was a formality rather than a requirement. Finally, Vore addressed the chamber. The humans have shown us what we refuse to see, she said, her skin cycling through colors of grief, determination, and resolve. The Ravagers cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be appeased. They are programmed to consume until nothing remains. Against such an enemy, survival itself becomes the highest morality. You advocate abandoning 10,000 years of ethical consensus, Mavre accused. I advocate surviving to build 10,000 more, Vore countered. These humans crossed galaxies to help a civilization they never knew existed. They offer their lives to save ours. Can we do less? In the end, the Council approved the plan by the narrowest margin in its history. Many delegations abstained. Some formally condemned the action while privately contributing resources. Preparations moved with shocking speed. Human engineers modified Council vessels with jury-rigged weapons systems. Council technicians adapted their shields to human specifications. Joint training operations revealed how utterly unprepared Council forces were for actual combat. Your ships are beautiful, Kozlov told Vore during one simulation, elegant, efficient, and completely undermined by your tactical doctrine. Meaning? Vore asked, watching Council pilots struggle to execute human-designed maneuvers. You fight as if the goal is to disable without destruction, to demonstrate superiority without inflicting casualties. Kozlov shook his head. Noble, but against the Ravagers. Suicidal. Vore finished. Her skin had begun adopting human-like patterns, shorter, more abrupt color shifts, tactical colors, warning colors. We're learning. Fast enough? Kozlov wondered aloud. The assault launched 3 weeks after the humans' arrival. 200 Council ships, the largest fleet assembled in a millennium, jumped into the Helios cluster's outer reaches. Their mission: create a diversion massive enough to draw Ravager forces from the Nexus. Simultaneously, a single modified vessel, carrying Admiral Ashok, Captain Lee, 4 human specialists, and Ambassador Vore, approached from the system's ecliptic pole. Its stealth systems were enhanced with human countermeasures, its profile disguised as debris from previous Ravager consumption. Vore watched the battle unfold from the ship's command center. The Council fleet performed their role with unexpected discipline, striking precisely at vulnerable Ravager nodes, then retreating before counterattacks could form. Human tactical advisors, embedded with each ship group, guided them through maneuvers no Council commander would have conceived independently. They're responding, Ashok observed, as Ravager vessels peeled away from the Nexus. Defense algorithms prioritizing the larger threat. As predicted, Lee confirmed, infiltration window opening in 3 minutes. The strike vessel slipped through gaps in the Ravager defense network, up close. The Nexus was a nightmarish structure, a metallic web woven around the star itself, pulsing with energy as it drained the stellar giant. Factory nodes the size of continents extruded new Ravager units. Command relays coordinated swarm activities across dozens of systems. Approach vector identified, reported the pilot, a wiry human named Rodriguez. Maintenance channel between primary taps. Thermal signature? Lee asked. Survivable. Barely. Rodriguez's fingers danced across controls. Environmental suits at maximum. The vessel slipped between colossal energy conduits, heat warnings blaring across every system. They docked against a Nexus access point, disguising their ship as a routine maintenance drone. "Breach team, move out," Ashok ordered. Vore accompanied the infiltration group. Herself, Lee, and 3 specialists. Their objective: reach the central control node and overload the stellar tap protocols. The resulting cascade would destroy the Nexus and disrupt the entire swarm. The interior of the Nexus defied description. Not truly a ship or station. It was an evolutionary construct, machinery grown rather than built. Corridors twisted according to algorithmic efficiency rather than biological comfort. Maintenance drones, smaller versions of the system-consuming Ravagers, skittered past without challenging them. "They don't recognize us as threats," Lee explained, checking a scanner. "Their identification protocols focus on Council biosignatures and ship configurations. We're outside their pattern recognition parameters." "For now," warned Kozlov, "they adapt quickly." They moved deeper into the Nexus, following energy conduits toward the central node. The heat grew oppressive, even through their environmental suits. Twice they froze as larger Ravager units passed nearby. Once they detoured around a manufacturing chamber where new harvesters were being assembled from consumed material, including recognizable fragments of Council ships. "We're approaching the control Nexus," Lee announced, after nearly an hour of careful progress. Energy readings suggest the stellar tap regulators are just ahead. The chamber they entered was vast, a spherical space kilometers wide. At its center floated a pulsing geometric structure surrounded by energy fields. Below it, a massive aperture opened directly into the star's photosphere. Blinding light and impossible heat poured through containment fields. There, Kozlov pointed to a crystalline structure near the primary regulator. "That's their command node. Adaptive algorithms route through there before implementation." "How do we overload it?" Vore asked, her skin darkened to absorb the intense light. "We don't—" Lee produced a device from her pack. "We replace their harvest protocols with our own. Instead of measured extraction, full-spectrum consumption. The star will go supernova," Vore realized, horror flooding her system. "Not quite," Kozlov corrected. "More like a focused solar flare directly through the tap structure. The Nexus becomes the conduit for its own destruction." They worked quickly, each human fulfilling a specific role. Vore stood guard, watching from maintenance drones. The chamber remained eerily empty, all defensive resources diverted to the ongoing battle at the system's edge. "Upload complete," Lee announced, "trigger set for 30 minutes, more than enough time to reach minimum safe distance." As they turned to leave, Vore's enhanced sensors detected something the humans had missed. A faint biosignature. No, dozens of them, from a chamber adjoining the Nexus core. "Wait," she said, skin flashing urgent warning patterns. "There's something else here." "We don't have time for detours," Lee insisted. "Life signs," Vore said, "Council species." Without waiting for permission, she moved toward the signal. The humans followed reluctantly, weapons ready. The adjacent chamber was smaller, but no less disturbing. Rows of transparent containment pods lining the walls. Inside each, a member of various Council races floated in suspension fluid. "Survivors," Vore whispered, pressing her hand against one pod containing a Lumina child. "From captured worlds." "Study specimens," Kozlov corrected grimly. "The Ravagers are analyzing Council biology, learning how to counter our specific physiologies." "We need to free them," Vore insisted. "Ambassador," Lee's voice was flat. "We have 28 minutes until this entire structure is vaporized. There are at least 100 pods. We can't evacuate them all." "So we leave them to die?" Vore's skin pulsed with moral outrage. "They're already dead," Ashok said from behind them. "The Admiral had followed when they failed to return. Even if we could free them, Their minds are gone. Look at the neural interfaces. Vore looked closer and saw the filaments extending into each subject's brain stem. Her luminescence dimmed in sorrow. "We finished the mission," Ashok ordered. "Now." The return journey was a nightmare race against time. Halfway to their vessel, alarm signals echoed through the Nexus. The Ravagers had detected the protocol changes and were initiating countermeasures. "They're adapting faster than we calculated," Lee reported, checking her scanner. "Defensive units converging on our position." They ran, abandoning stealth for speed. Maintenance drones became hostile, forcing the humans to use weapons for the first time. Compact pulse rifles that disintegrated the mechanical hunters. Vore found herself dragging an injured specialist after a near miss from a Ravager energy discharge. "Leave me," the woman gasped. "Nguyen, a demolitions expert. Complete the mission." "Humans don't abandon their own," Vore replied, adapting a phrase she'd heard them use. "Neither do we." They reached the ship with 12 minutes remaining. Rodriguez had the engines primed. Artificial gravity already disengaged to reduce power demands. "Ravager capital ships breaking off from the main engagement," he reported as they strapped in. "They've identified us as the primary threat." "Too late," Ashok said grimly. "Execute emergency jump protocols." The ship tore away from the Nexus, accelerating toward the minimum safe distance for hyperspace engagement. Behind them, the Nexus began to glow as the corrupted protocols took effect. The stellar tap drew more energy than the containment fields could handle. The star's photosphere began to distort. "Jump drives charging," Rodriguez called out. 90 seconds to engagement." "Ravager interceptors closing," reported another specialist. "Firing solutions locked." The first impact rocked their vessel. Shields flared and partially collapsed. A second hit damaged the port engine array. The ship tumbled, emergency systems barely maintaining life support. "Reroute all power to jump drives," Ashok ordered. "We need one clean jump." "We won't make minimum safe distance," Rodriguez warned. "We don't need to be safe," Ashok replied. "We just need to survive." The stellar tap detonated. A concentrated stream of stellar plasma, hotter than 1,000 suns, erupted through the Nexus structure. The artificial hemisphere containing the vast machine collapsed, funneling the star's fury through its own heart. The shockwave hit their vessel seconds before the jump drives engaged. Systems failed across the board. Hull integrity warnings screamed through the command center. Vore's consciousness faded as acceleration compensators failed. Her last sight was the Nexus, disintegrating in a bloom of stellar fire. Vore awoke in the medical bay of the Council station. Her injuries had been significant, but not life-threatening, a testament to human environmental suit design. She learned that their ship had completed its emergency jump, emerging in devastated condition at the rendezvous coordinates. Council rescue vessels had retrieved them minutes before total life support failure. The Ravager Nexus was destroyed. As predicted, the swarm had fragmented, individual units continuing to function, but unable to coordinate adaptation or large-scale strategy. The threat wasn't eliminated, but it was reduced from extinction level to manageable. The cost had been severe. 43 Council vessels lost. Thousands of lives sacrificed. 7 of the 12 humans seriously injured, including Admiral Ashok and Captain Lee. The council chamber was subdued when Vore entered 3 days later. The delegates were reviewing after-action reports, a concept introduced by the humans. The stellar map overhead showed the red dots of Ravager occupation frozen rather than expanding. A small victory, but significant. "Ambassador Vore." Mavre acknowledged her arrival. "The Council recognizes your service." Vore took her place in the Lumina section. Her skin displayed formal patterns, but with undertones of the tactical colorations she'd adopted during the mission. "The human representatives will be joining us shortly." Mavre continued. "We must decide our path forward." The debate that followed was unlike any in Council history. Some delegates argued for immediate alliance with Earth, integrating humans into Council defense forces. Others advocated caution, citing the disturbing ease with which humans employed destructive tactics. Still others proposed thanking the humans and returning to isolation, developing their own defenses based on lessons learned. When Admiral Ashok entered, walking stiffly from barely healed injuries, the chamber fell silent. He was accompanied by Captain Lee and the remaining specialists. They took places in a newly installed section marked with Earth's simple flag. The Ravager threat has been contained, but not eliminated. A shock began without preamble. Remnant forces will regroup. New nexus structures will form. You have perhaps 5 standard years before facing another extinction-level event. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Unless, he continued, you adapt. Not just your technology, but your thinking, your ethics, your understanding of what survival requires. You propose we become like you, Mavroy said, crystalline features unreadable. Warriors. I propose you recognize that peace isn't the absence of violence. Ashok replied, it's the willingness to defend it. Vore rose to speak. Her skin displayed a pattern never before seen in the council chamber, a hybrid of diplomatic blue and human tactical red. The humans showed us what we refused to see, she began. That the universe contains threats our philosophy cannot address. That survival sometimes requires actions our ethics condemn. That evolution shaped us for harmony, but shaped them for resistance. She turned to face the assembled delegates. We asked for heroes, she continued. Earth sent us Deathworlders, beings forged by gravity and radiation, by predators and plagues, beings who expect struggle as the natural state of existence. Her gaze met Ashok's. Understanding passed between them. I propose a formal alliance, Vorai declared. Earth provides military expertise and protection. The Council provides technological advancement and ethical guidance. Together, we expand mutual understanding. The vote was not unanimous. Centuries of peaceful evolution could not be overturned in a single session. But the majority recognized reality. The Council needed humanity's defensive capabilities as surely as humans would benefit from Council technology. In the observatory deck, where she had watched Lumina Prime fall, Vore stood beside Admiral Ashok. Below them, Council engineers worked alongside human specialists, modifying the station's defensive systems. Your people learn quickly, Ashok observed. Adaptation is humanity's defining trait, but you may surpass us. Necessity, Vore replied, unconsciously using his people's cadence. Your Earth saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Invention, yes, but also atrocity. Ashok's expression darkened. The things we did to survive our world, the things we did to each other. There's a reason we understand the Ravagers so well. Vore's skin rippled with complex patterns, sympathy, understanding, caution. You fear we'll become too much like you. I fear you'll repeat our mistakes, he corrected. Learning to fight without losing what makes peace worthwhile. That's the real challenge. Beyond the viewport, ships moved in formation, sleek council vessels alongside angular human designs. Already they were learning from each other. Already the edges were blurring. There will be more threats, Vore said quietly, beyond the Ravagers. Always are, Ashok agreed. Universe doesn't care if we survive. Then we must care for each other, Vore replied, her hand, four-fingered, translucent, bioluminescent, extended toward him, a human gesture she had learned. After a moment, Ashok took it, his 5 fingers, opaque, densely muscled, scarred from a lifetime on a world that bred warriors, closed carefully around hers. 2 evolutionary paths, 2 approaches to existence, 2 civilizations that might, together, survive what neither could alone. In the darkness beyond the station, stars continued their silent burning. Some harbored gentle worlds that nurtured life in peace. Others forged their children in fire and struggle. All faced the same uncaring cosmos. All contained the same fundamental choice: adapt or perish. The Council had chosen adaptation. They had chosen alliance with Deathworlders. They had chosen survival. And for now, that was enough.